Good morning. We begin with a word of affirmative prayer, spiritual mind treatment, closing our eyes, taking a deep breath, and knowing the truth that in the infinity of this now moment, I reside at the center of all that is. I know that the power that created me and sustains me is within me, even as it is vivifying life that I find all around me. I know that there is an inherent unity. There is an inherent abundance in this universe, and I know that I am part of it. I know that I am here because the universe wanted me here. I know that all that is around me is for my greatest good and highest joy. I know that even the things that I feel are challenging are there to help me to move to the next level of my spiritual journey. And I know that I take each and every lesson to heart. I choose to let it instruct me, to guide me, to help me to unfold on this spiritual evolutionary pathway. I choose to see within myself the qualities that I know to be life-affirming. I know that within me there is infinite light, infinite life, infinite love. I know that I am a font of peace, that there is harmony within me, there is harmony reflected back to me in my interpersonal relationships. And I know that there is beauty and joy all around me because I choose to see life through these eyes. I know that the power within me is also the power that put the galaxies into their spin, that knit me together, and that continues to look back at me in each and every moment. Everywhere I look, I see life reflected. And so it is with a great sense of thanksgiving and peace that I let go and entrust myself to the process. And so it is. Healing and demonstration take place as our minds become attuned to the truth of being. There is no process of healing, but there is generally a process in healing. This process is the time and effort which we undergo in our realization of truth. The one who wishes scientifically to work out their problems must take time daily to meditate and mentally treat the condition, no matter what the apparent contradictions may be. They are working silently in the law, and the law will find an outlet through the person's faith in it. This law is the law which puts the act into all action. It is the invisible actor working through us to will and to do. As a result of right treatment, the mold is formed in the subjective mind by the treatment and makes possible a concrete manifestation. The treatment is an intelligent energy in the invisible world. It is a spiritual entity working through the law of mind, and it is an actual force now consciously directed. Therefore, it must produce specific results. And this is a quote from The Science of Mind by Dr. Ernest Holmes. If there's no process in healing, we might ask why it sometimes seems to take so long for us to be liberated. If this stuff works, why does it seem we toil for years under the same conditions? If this stuff works, why is it that if I understand something and am making efforts to do what New Thought principles say, why is it that I'm still struggling? The short and rather unsatisfying answer is, it depends. There are a number of things that can seem to get in the way when we are on a healing journey. However, today I would like to consider this concept We sometimes resist change at a subconscious level because we are afraid of the unknown that stretches out beyond this leg of our healing journey. Put another way, we are afraid because we don't know who we will be once we have made the shift. I've talked previously about this. Sometimes conditions we find to be negative or painful or vexing feel like home to a part of us. They feel normal. And because we subconsciously seek equilibrium and stability, we tolerate these conditions despite the difficulty they pose to us. In other words, we prefer the pain we know to the anxiety we get thinking about the unknown. And as we know from New Thought, the thoughts we think and the words we speak are animated, vivified, and instilled with power from the emotion and the feeling we put behind them. Thus, if part of us is invested in maintaining the status quo, if part of us feels that what we've got is a safer alternative to not knowing and instability, then it follows that the changes we are able to make in our lives will be limited by this. Our affirmations might not seem to work, the eureka moments might not come, and we might not experience the synchronicities we are asking for. Making significant change in our lives directly threatens our belief in an identity as a stable and unchanging version of the self. We don't know who we will be, how we will feel, what we will do, or how others will react to our making big changes. This last one is particularly significant. If we've been one way and if people are familiar with this way of our being, they treat us in the way that they've always treated us. They expect certain things from us. When we begin to change, they may subconsciously or consciously react in ways that attempt to get us to stop in our tracks and reverse course. We may feel even more uneasy with the prospect of changing as a result. After all, we are interdependent and interrelated beings, and pushback from those around us is bound to affect us. By understanding this, that fear of the unknown gives rise to resistance, we can incorporate another spiritual practice into our toolkit: working with resistance. Working with resistance is multifaceted. It is first making a conscious choice to do things a little different, and then observing what comes up for us. Or perhaps allowing ourselves to contemplate making a big decision, to make a big change, and then observing what comes up. What is your anxiety telling you? What sorts of fears are you imagining coming to pass? And can you stay with yourself rather than pushing it all out of your mind and, in effect, telling yourself to shut up? You see, we often silence ourselves when anxieties get us scared about stuff. Part of this working on resistance is allowing ourselves to feel the anxiety and then staying with ourselves, staying connected, staying present. It's breathing through the fear. It's allowing ourselves to stay grounded in the moment until that fear and anxiety begins to abate. The truth is that no state of fear or anxiety can last forever, physiologically speaking. Eventually, the body begins to calm as long as we choose to remain present and stay with ourselves, soothing and calming ourselves. We begin to understand that the things we are imagining in our mind's eye are not actually happening to us in the here and now. They have not come to pass. And then we have the experience, the bodily experience, of anxieties having come up and our staying with ourselves, with our experiences long enough to understand, oh, the world didn't end. Oh, what I thought was going to happen has not happened in these few moments of my imagining catastrophe. Just because my overactive imagination tells me there is something right here to fear does not mean that in this moment that there is. And when we have this realization, not as a thought, not as a theory in a book we've read, but as a physical experience in the here and now, we gain experience being with ourselves, soothing and comforting ourselves in the face of the unknown. And this is the practice of working with resistance. Understanding there is fear and trepidation, choosing to make baby steps or even big steps toward the changes we wish to see, and then working with the resistance, observing, giving it space, giving it respect because it is an emotion we are having, and then allowing ourselves to sit with it long enough to understand that oftentimes what we thought our feelings of anxiety or fear meant is not actually what they meant at all. Just because we are afraid of the idea of changing or things in our lives changing does not mean that it is in actuality going to be horrible, that this change is something that we are incapable of handling. You and I are capable of handling and meeting so much more than we believe ourselves to be. And then it becomes easier to stick with our affirmations, our spiritual practice, and making the real changes in thought, word, and behavior that are going to propel us beyond our stuck points. Because our subconscious will be on board rather than fighting tooth and nail to keep the status quo, because deep down we are more afraid of the unknown than we are of the situation we find ourselves in, however intolerable it might be. So this week, dare to observe your resistance to doing things you know would be in your best interest. Dare to hold your resistance with reverence and respect, and understand that you don't have to hate the fact or lament the fact that resistance comes up for you. The truth is, resistance is your subconscious trying to keep you safe, and by seeking to maintain equilibrium and balance. And when we move toward shaking things up and making change, we have to gain experience breathing through the anxiety, staying grounded in the present moment, and sticking with ourselves, telling ourselves, it's okay, I'm here. No matter what happens, I won't leave you alone. And that gets at that little kid in us who might be scared and and standing in the way of our moving forward with changes we would sincerely like to make. Our making peace with this and with the feelings of anxiety that come up is critical. Understanding that experiencing resistance or anxiety doesn't mean you're not spiritual enough, or that you've not made progress, or that you've backslid somehow, but rather that this is an opportunity in the here and now to make real progress in a way that is sustainable and will move you forward to the next leg of your spiritual journey, is a critical eureka moment to have. May you choose to be kind and loving to yourself, and understand that being compassionate and kind to yourself is the key to making real change and being able to become part of the healing energy that is saving this planet. Life loves you, and so it is.